There are lines you can cross in the Traitors, and then there are some lines you can just never come back from. We just watched somebody tank their entire game in real time. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Culture Alchemy, where we do a deep dive into film, TV, music, and the stories and trends lighting up the group chat. We'll discuss what it means, why it matters, and how it shapes us. I'm Antoinette. Each week, we've got pop culture's hottest takes served fresh. We're turning pop culture into pure gold. This is Culture Alchemy. Welcome back to Culture Alchemy. Today we're talking the Traitors episodes 4 and 5 and the comment heard around the world that ended Michael Rapaport's game. Something I'm noticing this season where confidence itself is evidence. And we all know how this works in society. Confidence is currency. You fake it till you make it. And we are seeing evidence of this in episodes 4 and 5, where confidence is not just being used by the Traitors in particular to persuade. We're also seeing evidence of faithfuls doing this too, with very passionate pleas at the round table being used as the sole evidence to condemn somebody to banishment. In this house, confidence is acting kind of like a social shield. People are really getting away with a lot more simply because of the perception that others have of them. It's a tale as old as time. And yes, studies do actually show us that confident individuals, particularly those who are overconfident, frequently get away with way more in society, and others often mistake their confidence for actual competence. So you may have heard of the phrase, the confidence of a mediocre white man. It's a popular cultural expression. It's often used in a tongue-in-cheek way, but it refers to this phenomena where some white men exhibit unjustified or outsized confidence in their abilities due to a lack of systemic roadblocks. So we see this kind of confidence happening in episodes 4 and 5. Let me just go back to Colton leading Tiffany's banishment with such certainty, not necessarily proof, but just a feeling going off of the vibes. And the fact that Colton is this good looking, former athlete, he's saying it with such confidence is what led people to listen to him and actually to banish Tiffany. Tiffany was up there for me in my top 3 kind of winner picks. She was a player to watch for me, very smart. And I think it was that intelligence and strategy that made her a threat. It didn't help as well that Eric Nam, who is a K-pop singer, said that he heard Tiffany actually laughing when the Traitors were going through a ceremony the night before. So his ears became the proof positive of Tiffany being a traitor, which is so unfortunate, as we find out later on that was not the case. But this just goes to show that, confidence can really, really sell an argument. We also saw a little bit of overconfidence at the breakfast table. So Lisa Rinna, who is a traitor, when she came in the day after the banishment of Carolyn from the Housewives of Dubai, she started talking about what she saw because she was initially one of the cast members who was up for banishment. So unbeknownst to her, when she was at the breakfast table explaining what she saw the evening before, she was not aware that the table was clocking the details that she was giving. She was actually giving so many more details than necessary. And I think that was because she was trying not to seem suspect, but it was actually more sus that she had so many details. And Johnny, who I think is actually playing a really low-key, fantastic game, Johnny Weir clocked this immediately and was kind of suspect of the fact that she mentioned something that the other people who had been out that evening had not mentioned, which was the detail about the axe. Now, fortunately for her, it did come out later on that the axe was present, but again, overconfidence here could have completely tanked her game and made her suspect number 1. So she got very, very lucky that the details that she provided were able to be corroborated by other people. But I think that that's an example of overconfidence maybe getting in the way of good strategy and game. So confidence is clearly acting as currency in this house. But the question is, who actually gets to spend it? Because when you look at Ron Funches and Colton side by side, we see the exact same behavior producing wildly different consequences. So something else that we're seeing in the house, and I'm noticing in episodes 4 and 5, is the continuation of who gets grace at the round table, who is given authority when they assert a theory about who could be a traitor based on certain biases that people have in the house. I keep going back to Ron, and my heart really hurts for him because I see him being ostracized in the house for really what seems to amount to nothing more than just an early theory about Portia, which ended up getting her banished from the house. Of course, he was wrong about her being a traitor, but his early aggression is being seen so much more severely than I feel Colton's, for example, his aggression at the round table going after certain people is being seen. I also think because Ron is kind of quiet and keeps to himself, that's also putting people off. And so this is a game that's not just strategic, but also social. And I think how people perceive you and how they feel, if they're comfortable around you or not, is also going to impact how they view you. And, of course, as I said before, Colton, he is a good looking man. He has a little bit of pretty privilege, I think, here too. And I think that's helping people to see him as being a more reliable narrator than Ron. Colton is playing just as hard as Ron and somehow is remaining protected. And I think sometimes it could also come down to just who's allowed to face off with someone at the round table can be part of the biases that we have, like in society. So Ron is a black male. He's, shouting off different theories and, maybe coming off a little bit abrasive, but he's kind of saying the same thing as Colton, except Colton has a little bit more of the advantage of being, yes, a white cisgendered male. When he speaks, people listen. And this is where strategy, in my opinion, stops being natural and starts reflecting real world power dynamics. And once bias enters the room, gameplay just isn't judged equally. Okay. Michael. This brings me to the moment that changed everything. The comment that didn't just misfire, but actually ended Michael Rapaport's game. So, as I said at the top, some things you can say and get away with, and we accept a certain amount of lying and deception in the game of Traitors, but there's some things you just can't do and you just can't say. And Michael Rapaport is known. I'm sure when the casting director put him on the show, they thought there would be some fireworks. He is known for being a hot-headed, hot-tempered, and hot takes kind of guy. Certainly politically incorrect is I don't know, I think generous way to describe Michael. But I will say this. Michael was correct in that he was circling around three people in particular that he felt could be traitors. And he mentioned this right throughout the show, that he felt that one of the hunks, Colton, Rob, who is a traitor, or Steven could be traitors. That's a good take. He has some good reads, actually. But the worst thing he could have done, Michael was called out by Colton earlier, and he got upset, obviously took it extremely personally because he is a faithful. And so when he got to the round table, he came after Colton and said that there's no other person here at this table that I feel would be a better traitor because no one is better at keeping a secret than you.
Nobody in this room would be better at holding a secret than you.
Which led to, not only was my mouth a gasp when I heard it, ooh, I let a visceral groan out, but I could see several other traitors and faithfuls as well also gasping around the round table. Because obviously, even though he didn't say it point blank, he's clearly insinuating the fact that Colton, for the first 29 years of his life was in the closet and kept a secret about his orientation. This was such a low blow. And really after he said that, there's really no way you can kind of keep him. And that's exactly what happened. Of course, Colton fired back and asked him to explain himself, like why he was, accusing him of being dishonest because he was closeted. And really, you could see the pain in Colton's eyes when he mentioned this. And I could see several other people at the table. And actually, looking at the table, it is quite an interesting composition of people because many of them are actually coming from the queer community as well. And so I can't imagine how that must have felt. But I could see Johnny Weir, for example, that lit him up for sure. He was definitely writing Michael's name down, irrespective of what happened at that table.
You can't blame somebody being forced into a closet for the majority of their life.
I'm not talking about closets.
That's what we took it as, or I took it as anyway.
What did you?
I saw Jam Jam also get quite emotional, and even if you're not from that community, it's such a terrible thing to assert, to use that against somebody in this way. It just goes beyond anything strategic, anything game related, and becomes very personal. And it's just Michael has been a constant constant like cyclone of chaos and drama, and just kind of, I don't know, like just really messing up the vibe of the house, you know? And I think people just were sick of him and wanted him gone. And so when Michael made that comment, he just gave him the ammunition that they needed. It was a foregone conclusion he was going to get voted out, and that's exactly what they did. And when he left, there was an audible sigh of relief around the table. And I can't say that I blame them. You don't come back from that kind of a comment, not strategically, not socially. At this point, the social hierarchy is completely reshaped. So let's see where everyone stands now. Okay, so I'm still going to keep Rob in the winning position. I think he's been playing an amazing game, and he's my MVP again this week. He's so flying under the radar. Now, with the exception of the one comment that Michael made, where he did say that one of the three hunks, Rob, Stephen, or Colton, is a traitor, he's really kind of, flying under the radar. And I really like the game he's playing. He's also being loyal to the traitors. This is something we see every season thus far, that some traitor at some point breaks bad and decides to throw the others on the bus. He's actually, I think, keeping his threat level down by actually staying loyal to fellow traitors Lisa and Candace, because they have such higher profiles than him. It's a great way for him to shield himself. I think he's playing a fantastic game, great social game. Everyone loves him. And even though he doesn't say that much, when he does offer guesses about who other traitors could be. And I think that's what he needs to do, is kind of play somewhere flirting anyways with that fine line between saying too much and not saying enough at all. And he's definitely playing a great game. And then we've got, who do we have here? Well, we've got Lisa Renna, who I think is overplaying the game, but she's enjoying the game very much. I think now that she's kind of in the radar for Colton. Colton mentioned that he thinks she could be a traitor. She could be in trouble. But I'm still going to say that she's in a strong position overall because she's a big personality and people are not really coming for her. This is the first week where I think she's taken a little bit of heat. I still think Tara Lipinski playing a fantastic social game. And I was really surprised that, I heard conversations about her where she was being terribly underestimated. I think she's still in a strong position. Tiffany, she was, as I said, I put her in the strong position here because I think she was one of the top contenders to take this whole thing. They knew it too. They knew she was dangerous. And so they eliminated her. So I'm going to have to put her down on borrowed time. These are all of the casts who have been eliminated. We still have Dorinda here. I'm going to put Dorinda in useful but expendable. Steven's still there too. No one's really looking at him. But I'm also not really feeling winner edit from him. I feel like he's being a little bit too quiet. He might just get dragged along to the end. I'm going to put him in useful but expendable. Okay, and Monet. So I'm jumping all over the place here. I'm assuming some of you maybe have watched the show and are here not just for recaps, but for the meaning behind why these moves matter. We know Monet was voted out, unfortunately, in the last episode, going to move them down here to borrow time. Kristen. I think Kristen is seen as a strong player. We heard the conversation with the traders who had the choice of banishing her or banishing Caroline or banishing Ron. Now, Ron is socially persona non grata right now in the house, so it makes sense you don't banish him. He can be a great shield for you. Kristen, though, the conversation around her has always been that she's smart, and we're going to have to deal with her at some point in time. So I do think she's kind of dangerously visible right now. I actually think she's a great player as well. I put her high in my list. Overall, do I think she has a good shot? Yes, but her threat level is kind of visible right now. So I'm going to keep her here. I also think, and maybe we'll see this next week, she's making a lot more comments generally in the house around who she thinks could be suspect. And I have a fear she may share her theories with the wrong person and end up being targeted. So I'm going to keep her here. In my useful but expendable row, okay, well, Michael Rapaport, we can pour some drink out for him. We know he's gone for obvious reasons. And I think that was the right call. I think that was a horrible comment. And yeah, I mean, definitely deserves banishment. I think I feel good about where everyone else is here. I think Ron, again, people will use him as a meat shield. He's also being used right now as sort of defense whenever they need to put someone up as a traitor. They kind of just continually point to him. So I think he's going to continue to be useful, but certainly expendable. I don't think anybody trusts him, and I feel bad for him in the house because it's not a great feeling to be ostracized in a group, and my heart hurts when I see it. But I think yeah, I think I'm going to leave him here. Mark Ballas. So Mark is an interesting one because I'm really not talking much about him because I don't see him doing much. But in the last episodes, 4 and 5, they started showing more of him and started showing more of him speaking about how he perceives people in the house. I think he is sort of observing, watching gainfully. I'm not going to put him in a strong position. I haven't seen enough to really justify that, but I will keep him here in the useful but expendable. I think he's playing pretty low key game and he's doing all right. I think socially as well too. So let's see what happens next week. Maybe I can adjust this and put him in strong, but right now I think this is where he belongs. Eric, I'm going to keep him here. Although I think he's well liked in the house, socially has a lot of capital. His his comment about hearing Tiffany laughter did sink her game ultimately. I do think he's going to play a little bit more of a passive game because of that. He's in a good position, but I think he's not in the best position. Johnny Weir, I am going to give Johnny Weir a little bit of promotion here because I think he's playing a great game and he's so observant. He's made so many comments that have led me to believe that, wow, this guy is completely switched on. He knows what's happening and he's watching people and he's able to pick up on patterns. And I think that's a really strong quality to have if you want to do well in this game. So I'm moving up to strong position. He's also got a great partner in Tara, excuse me. And I think that people are still unaware, oddly, which is weird because they're both figure skating icons and have done so much work together that I don't understand how they can't perceive that those two are a duo, but they're playing a good game and keeping enough distance that I guess their threat level has been minimized. But yeah, I think Johnny's definitely strong position here. Who else? I think, okay, Lisa, we talked about her. I'm going to keep her here. Maura Higgins. Yeah, I think Maura's in a good position. I think she's got a lot of social clout in the house. She's talkative. I think, for example, at the last roundtable, when she explained to Michael that the comment's completely unacceptable, I think she's one of those people that is outspoken enough that she can say something without being immediately suspect, has good relationships, as I keep saying, that's key in the house. And I think she's in a good spot. Colton's talking a lot. He's saying a lot, but again, confidence sometimes can be a really strong currency in this house. I also think he's showing up and showing out at the physical competitions, so he's contributing to the prize pot. I think people may not really have any real suspicion about him being a traitor. I know Michael tried to lead the charge there on his way out, but I'm going to keep Colton in strong position for now. Natalie is also somebody who, I mean, if you know her from Survivor, she's a brilliant strategist. She's really, really good physically at the competitions as well and very observant. And I think she's playing a great game. I'm going to keep her in strong position and look out for her in the next couple of episodes. Let's see what happens with her because she's, I think, very, very calculated. And she, she might be in a better position than I'm actually giving her credit for. I'm going to keep her in strong because I think this is somebody who has she has all the things needed to win this game. Jam Jam's in an interesting position too because he is generally well liked. I think people kind of look at him like he could be a traitor. Think he's caught in the suspicion of a few people, but nobody's really coming for him yet. I don't really see his name being written down. It's being said at the round table, but I'm not really seeing, with the exception of Tiffany, who obviously got eliminated, I'm not seeing his name being written down, and that says something. We already spoke about Tara. Great game. Keep an eye on her. She's in a great spot. And then we get to Candace. Candace is playing a great game. Man, I really like her, and she's good TV. I mean, the Housewives, say what you want, because I know some people have said we should not put as many Housewives on this show. They're good TV, and she knows what she's doing. She understands the social game. And I think we're seeing a little bit of maybe some cracks in her veneer when it comes to the most recent banishments of Tiffany. And even to some extent, I think Portia, when she went out too, there was a little bit more emotion behind those banishments for Candace. I think she really does truly connect with people. She's learning about the fellow castmates in a way that seems genuine. And I think it's getting harder for her to deceive in the game. But let's keep it real. She is still a housewife. She is still here to play the game, and she's playing hard in the paint. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for her to get her hands dirty in the remainder of the game. But yeah, she's in a great spot. And as I said, I'm sticking to my guns here. This week's MVP, got to give the trophy to Rob. Rob, to me, unless somebody starts looking his way and then actually puts him in the line of fire for questioning at the roundtable, I think this guy is going to win the entire game. He's in a great position. Okay, so there you have it. When you zoom out from the player rankings, a bigger truth starts to really emerge. And that for me is that Traitors is not just about deception. It's about who we believe, who we forgive, who we punish, and that confidence shapes truth often more than facts. So the real game isn't who's lying. It's really about who's allowed to get away with it. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Before you go, please like and subscribe so you can get updates on Traitors and all the other shows, movies, and music that I'll be covering. And of course, follow me on Instagram at culture_alchemy to keep the conversation going. And until next time, alchemists, stay curious.